Welcome to the Florida Keys. A major tourist attraction, people all over the country come to visit the pleasant and exotic beaches of South Florida. However, not everyone is as relaxed as the millions of tourists that visit each year, because behind the sunny illusion of paradise lies a story, a problem for the future of our planet. 350 miles from Orlando, Florida is the Florida Keys, where the community is hard at work to solve a problem. In South Florida, the sea level has risen 9 inches in the past century and is expected to rise 9 to 24 inches within the next 50 years. As the sea level rises, deep shoreline waters will be affected by stronger storm surges, faster and more powerful waves, and increased hydrodynamic pressure, compromising the safety of coastal areas. Beaches are already eroding. In addition, sea level rise also threatens aquifers that supply coastal areas with drinking water.
All of our drinking water in the Florida Keys comes from what's called the Biscayne aquifer. If we continue to use and drain that aquifer down, and that combined with the higher, the sea level, going up higher, it could affect our drinking water supply.
3 of the 5 million locals in South Florida rely on the Biscayne aquifer. Salt water from rising sea levels is leaking through canals, which were originally constructed to drain the Everglades.
Climate change is the intrusion of salt water into the aquifers, and so they are seeing in Everglades National Park, they are seeing salt water way up into the park where they normally would never, 20, 30 years ago, never had salt water that far up.
Many factors are causing the rise. Oceans are beginning to absorb the heat emitted from carbon pollution, causing the water to expand or increase.
Well, in the Florida Keys, we are a very vulnerable series of islands. One reason that we're most vulnerable is we're very close to sea level rise. Much of the Keys is within 3 feet of sea level. So as the climate gets warmer and we get more variability in our climate, additionally, the seas are getting warmer, and as the seas get warmer, they expand. So when you're looking at the Florida Keys, if we consider sea level rise, many of our areas would be considered vulnerable to any level of sea level rise.
In addition, melting glaciers caused by rising temperatures increase water quantity. Disruptions in climate lead to stronger and more frequent storms, as well as higher tides. This means an increase in flooding, not just for the Keys, but for cities all over the world. According to the Climate Desk, San Francisco, New York, Mumbai, Tianjin, Boston, Bangkok, and many more cities will be affected by 2050. Global flood losses are expected to increase from $6 billion a year to $52 billion by 2050.
And the island called Big Pine Key, where our endangered key deer are, that island is very low, and projected if we get as much as a 3-foot storm surge in the upcoming years, 96% of that island will be underwater. 96%.
So what are the residents of the Florida Keys doing to stop rising sea levels? Monroe County has crafted a plan to decrease carbon emissions 20% by 2020. The November 2013 Monroe County Climate Change Plan states, "We clearly have the most to lose. If sea level rise is not curtailed by immediate reductions in greenhouse gases, the Florida Keys may eventually become unlivable." The county wants to switch to hybrid cars and also try out cisterns to catch rainwater.
We want to be real efficient with the things that we do, and we also want to look at what we're doing in a variety of different areas, whether it be from solid waste or from transportation, and make sure we're making the best possible choices in regards to climate change.
Although preventative measures are being taken to counter climate change, cities are being forced to adapt to the new sea levels.
We're a small island community here. We're going to do all we can to help reduce climate change, but we're also going to need to do much, much more to help us adapt.
The county climate change plan includes 72 initiatives. Monroe County will let residents decide which initiatives are most important to them. They will then prioritize and group them in chunks to be completed each year.
We're going to be reaching out to the neighborhoods, and we're going to be talking to the residents and the businesses, and we're going to show them the different models that are out there. We're going to show them what's projected in the next 40 to 50 years and how much sea levels are going to rise. And what that's going to do is help them understand the impacts to their homes and businesses if nothing is done.
Some of the initiatives include building raised roads and homes. Another plan will reduce saltwater intrusion into the Biscayne aquifer.
We don't want to be a do-nothing government or a do-nothing neighborhood. So we want to prepare people so they understand how high the water may rise, not just with sea level rise, but when we get in hurricanes, that also means an increased hurricane effect.
Another impact of climate change on the Keys is on the coral reefs. Being the diving capital of the world, Key Largo attracts tourists enthusiastic about the Florida Keys' gorgeous coral reefs. However, the beautiful coral treasured by both tourists and locals are endangered by climate change.
Well, here in the Florida Keys, the climate change, we really feel that we've been experiencing it for a number of years. And one of the ways that we really see it is from the increased water temperatures that we have, which causes coral bleaching.
Within the tissue of the coral is a photosynthetic algae called zooxanthellae. Along with supplying the coral with important nutrients, zooxanthellae also causes the coral's breathtaking array of colors.
Corals are very sensitive. Okay, they don't like their water too cold and they don't want the water too warm. And when it gets too warm or too cold, it will take and expel the zooxanthellae. And since they need that zooxanthellae in order to, as a food source, if they don't have the zooxanthellae for an extended period of time, the coral will die.
Due to the effects of climate change, carbon dioxide levels are going up. The ocean absorbs approximately 1/3 of the excess CO2, causing the pH of the water to become more acidic. Increased acidity means increased coral bleaching. This is called ocean acidification. With the increased acidity, the calcium carbonate shells of coral and marine life are dissolving. This is similar to the medical condition osteoporosis, in which bones deteriorate due to a lack of calcium and vitamin D. Coral are affected in the same way, as ocean acidification destroys their calcium carbonate exterior.
Any organism in the ocean that needs to have a calcium carbonate skeleton is affected by climate change, in that it will inhibit their ability to make that skeleton. So that includes lots of things that we like to eat, such as lobster and crab, shells, and for us here in Florida Keys, it's mainly the basis of our ecosystem, which is the coral reef.
How does this affect the Florida Keys? A popular attraction, the Keys' economic value is irreplaceable. In 2001, divers spent $4.4 billion and coral-related jobs supported 81,300 people. In addition, coral reefs are responsible for $11 billion a year in storm protection. More dead coral leads to fewer tourists, and eventually, a possible plummet in the Florida Keys economy as well. The Coral Restoration Foundation is trying to solve the problem.
We have the largest nursery in the world, offshore coral nursery. It's about 1 acre, and it's off the shore of Tabernero over here. And so there's about 300 plus of these coral trees in here, and 85 genotypes of the coral.
The CRF designed coral trees to raise endangered coral species such as the staghorn and elkhorn coral. Coral are attached to the tree by a monofilament line or wire. The nursery floats on water columns and can be moved up and down. The tree moves in line with storm waves, reducing the storm damage and decreasing maintenance.
Again, the corals are suspended in the water columns, so they get a good amount of flow around them, they get an appropriate amount of light for their photosynthetic algae that live in their tissue.
After 8 months in the nursery, the coral can finally be planted into the reef substrate. They are monitored and checked for disease, fragmentation, predators, and tissue paling.
There's been an 80% success rate with the corals that we've worked with, that we've outplanted. Last year, they outplanted 10,000 corals, 8,000 here in the Keys, and then 1,000 at each of the international locations we have in one area in Colombia.
But what can you do? In our fast-paced world, it's nearly impossible to live without technology. Cars, computers, stoves, lights, showers, and more are all daily necessities. Instead of giving up technology, simply switch to energy-efficient models.
What we can do is, when you're out buying something, buy the most energy-efficient model you can do. It makes a big difference when you're buying, for instance, a refrigerator that's the Energy Star model versus one that's not. Same as with air conditioners, and same with your automobiles. You know, we don't want to go back to the dark ages, and we don't want to live in caves with no energy, but it really helps to buy the most energy efficient models that you can buy no matter what you're buying.
Buying a new car for your teenager? Try an electric car. New dishwasher? Energy efficient models can save you approximately 1,000 gallons of water. Not only will you save the environment, but you'll save hundreds of dollars in utility bills. Check if household appliances such as light bulbs and refrigerators meet Environmental Protection Agency standards.
Part of the problem with climate change is that lots of folks think it's a global problem. It is a global problem, but I think if we all work together, there's lots of things that each individual can do.
With the combined efforts of organizations, the government, and people like you, we can tackle climate change in the Florida Keys and eventually the world. Let's end climate change together.